Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. So, I guess like Brother Robinson said, my name is Skylar Hillebrand. Let me just turn this on here. And I got my current job, when I was still in college. I was 2 years into my CIT degree, and I met the company, and they had an internet marketing department looking to start providing SEO for some of their clients. And I had some basic experience inside SEO. I actually took Brother Robinson's, it's probably not called this anymore, CIT 230, your first web design class. Same number. And I just learned the basics of building a website, and I guess one day started doing some searching to see how people can make money online, and learned about SEO. I bought some books, which is a very bad idea to do for SEO, because anything like you buy in terms of books will be out of date in the next couple of years after you buy it. So then I started doing some searching online and taught myself some SEO, started helping some clients, and that's where I'm at today. So like I said, I work at Barton Consulting. My name is Skylar Hillebrand, and Barton Consulting's been in business since 2008, I believe, and we offer programming, web development, and internet marketing for our clients. So we already had a quick intro to me. So I was born and raised in Idaho Falls, and that's where I work now. We have a satellite office in Idaho Falls as well as our main one here in Rexburg. I got my bachelor's in CIT. And so it's nice being an SEO internet marketer and having that background in CIT, because it's easy for me to be able to get into the code, and I understand the basics to be able to optimize the websites. I've been inside the industry for 5 years, and in that time, I've developed online marketing strategies and done SEO for dozens of websites, companies, and brands. Okay, so everybody here, I want you, so here's the time for shameless self-promotion. If you go to our company Facebook page, which if you search for Barton SEO or go to facebook.com/Barton Consulting, you'll be able to find us and like us. And if you do that, in the weeks following, I'm going to be posting up the slides and the blog so you can have this as a resource to review and recap and learn about SEO in the future. Okay, why should you care about SEO? Just a quick question. Who here had heard about SEO before this semester? Okay, good. That's good to hear. Okay, so why should you care about it? Let's go over a few things. Everybody should have a website. I guess we all know that. SEO is how CEOs and site owners and business owners can see direct ROI, return on investment. And that is what brings in that cash flow, that income that all companies love. So knowing the basics of SEO as a web developer can save time and money in that development process. And with any, let's see here, so with any company and website, being able to get traffic means that you can generate leads, which turns into money, leads and sales. A great thing that you can do if you want to learn SEO is to set a pattern of following blogs online, stay up to date with latest SEO tactics. I'll be using a lot of resources from Moz.com, which we subscribe to their suite of tools, and they're a great resource for SEO and for, in general, inbound marketing tactics. So social media, paid advertising, and I'll brush over those, I guess, a little bit today, but I'll be mainly focusing on SEO. So first off, how do search engines work? Let's see here. So we're going to go over a couple things with that. What a search engine does. Hang on, there we go. Two things. It crawls and it builds. It sends out these things called crawlers. It could be called bots. What they do is they go and they scan the entire web, following links as if it's a spider going around a big spider web. And it collects data, it collects news, pages, documents, files, and much more, and brings it together in this thing called the index. Now, each search engine has its own. I'll be mainly focusing on Google because they account for most of the traffic that is sent to websites. But what happens is they crawl and they get all that information and put it in something called the index, and then they provide users with a list of ranked websites or ranked videos or images. So yeah, the index. What happens here is the companies then put all that information in a big data supercenters. So big facilities that contain lots of expensive equipment and hardware so they can control it. And then what makes each search engine different and valuable is something called their algorithm, their ranking algorithm. And that is the I guess, secret sauce of each company. So Google has a very special and proprietary algorithm that people are always trying to figure out and analyze, and they're able to get a good idea of it, but it's always changing and updating. That's why people like me exist in the industry. So really quickly, so Google sends about 90% of all the search traffic that I guess people go online and search. So Google's about 90%. That's why I'll be focusing mainly on them. Yahoo is around 3.78%, and Bing is about 2%. And they have their place, and you're able to reach specific audiences when you target them. But mainly I'll be focusing on Google, and that's from a site called StatCounter. Okay, so back to the index. I already covered these. The algorithm is the secret sauce. Okay, so let's see here. Links and crawlers. Now, how crawlers find sites and pages is through links. Now, so here's kind of a, I guess, humorous representation. So Google sends out their bots and they follow links. So if you have a website that is linked to by many other sites, be it social media, other blogs, other websites, it's very easy for Google to find your site and index it. I'll be focusing a lot on the index because nowadays, like, the most SEO friendly thing you can do is make your site as easily indexable as possible. So these bots, these crawlers, they go and scan the web and they're constantly updating the index. So sites could be indexed I guess several times a day. It could be every other day. It could be on like a bunch of different time frames. The important thing is that your site is full of good links and has other links pointing to it. And I'll go over more in that in depth and give a little bit more steps on that. Okay, so the bots are always updating the index, and the crawlers love sites that are easy to find and have good links. Okay, let's go into the search engine result page. In the industry, people will call it SERPs. People will call it the SERP, but this is where money is made and lost. We have different areas of Google's SERP. If you look at the top left, that's search paid ads, and over to the right is more paid ads. In the middle, that I guess bottom left area, is the organic rankings. Now, an SERP could be very different, and it all depends on the query, the search that people do. On average, if you can get your site to rank number 1 in the organic rankings, then on average that's 18% click-through rates, which means 18% of all people that go to that page after searching for a keyword will go to your website on average. Then in the organic, we also can have different types of listings. We have like the normal one that has like organic listings. We have local listings, news listings, image listings, and video ones. So first, let's go over organic, local. And here is a great thing to know, I guess, how to work, because as you are going through college, there could be a moment when somebody has a small business, or you have a family that's setting up like some carpet cleaning service or some lawn mowing service, and you'll be able to help them get a presence on local, and you can get some fast results by paying attention to local. So there's 2 different types, and Google's changing this right now and doing some new things. Over here on the left, I did a search for Idaho Falls restaurants, and it pulled up some nearby restaurants. And then on the right, we have a normal Google Maps search result. The difference is the The one on the left generally doesn't have as many listings as the one on the right. And the one on the right is mainly controlled by using a service called Google Business, where you can make a Google Plus page and verify a specific location. And that is a fast way to get to the local organic rankings. Another thing that you can do to help boost organic local rankings is by, I guess, going out to other sites and getting links, but also getting something called NAPs, which means name, address, and phone numbers. Those crawlers, those Google bots that are always scanning the internet, they're looking for your name, your address, and your phone number, and every time they see that, they, I guess, put it down inside of the index and give more authority to your website. And that will help to bring up that authority and help your rankings go higher. So now let's talk about paid results. First off, we have search ads. I did a quick search for buy MacBook. In the top left, we see a couple search results. So regular search ads. On the right are shopping ads. Now what happens here is companies are using Google services and they're paying a cost per click amount. It could be, depending on what you're selling, it could be anything from 30 cents to, I've seen some click amounts be $20 or $50 sometimes. So here's where you can get kind of like a basic understanding of it, because if you have a website or a blog that's getting lots of traffic, then you can sell portions of your site off to get that cost per click amount, which is a good way to make money online. Okay, so yes, we have shopping ads, display ads, which I just mentioned, which is ads that you can put up on your website. So there's two different ways advertisers pay to get space on the SERP, and that's through a cost per click model or a cost per impressions model, which is where instead of paying every time someone clicks on your ad, you're paying for a bulk number of impressions. An impression is anytime somebody sees that listing. And then, it's important to note that ads through Google AdWords or any other advertising service have no effect on SEO and your site's rankings. That's a conflict of the Google, policy. So that's an important thing to know. Now, a quick little, hypothetical is, let's say that you have an online store. Let's say your name is Joe and you're selling shoes. Your average purchase is $60. You work hard, using SEO, to get around 2,000 visits a month. So people are finding you through different search terms. It could just be Joe's shoes through branding. It could be, like Trek shoes, premium running shoes, all kinds of different ways. You're able to get some visits. You get 2,000 visits a month. You work with your web team to optimize the conversion rate on your website to make it 2%. What that means is, 2,000 visits a month, 2% of that is 40. Your average purchase is $60. So just with your own little store, 40 times 60, that's about $2,400 in sales. And that's just through organic. And so that's the kind of potential that you can do with understanding and knowing how to get organic traffic. Okay, on-page optimization. Now what happens here is the things that you can do, as it says, to kiss Google's jewel-encrusted toes. That's the way a lot of SEOs feel, is that it's not necessarily that we're... It's hard to describe. I'm trying to paint the industry in a good light. You're trying to be Google's friend. You don't want to be spammy or do things unethical. That's why you always want to do it the right way and do it the way that they like it, because they're always changing. Hopefully they're pointing you in the right direction. The first step you can do is a technique called keyword research. What you want to do is make a plan. So make a list of keywords that you want to target, and the top mistake people make is going too broad. So back to our story of Joe's shoes. If Joe thinks, I'm going to do some SEO, and he starts targeting the keyword shoes, he's probably not going to do too well because it's a very competitive term. So what Joe wants to do is target what's called long tail keywords. Those are keywords that are 2 to 3, 4, 5 words long. So it could be I guess CrossFit running shoes. It could be long distance premium shoes. It could be striped long distance shoes. All types of keywords. Now, there's some tools that you can do, or I guess use to help you do this, and some of those is the Google Keyword Planner. That's a great one because you're able to get an idea, like what's happening here. You're able to get an idea of the monthly searches, and it gives a competition score to see how hard it would be to rank on that keyword. Okay, so yeah, the Keyword Planner. A great technique is to see what the competition is doing out there. Look for other sites in your industry and see what they're doing that's working. Try to improve upon it and adapt it to your model. And then look at long tail keywords. Okay. So next step for on-page optimization is to think like a search engine. This image on the left comes from Moz, and it's a hypothetical website that they built for teaching purposes. On the left is what you and I are seeing. So we're seeing images, colors, video. There could be some cool flash animations. There could be some cool sliders. On the right is what Google is seeing, the search engine. They only see links and text. The challenge now here is how can we show a great user experience through videos and images and sliders while also showing Google and search engines that our site is relevant to certain keywords. So that is what you have to do, is to think like a search engine. And you can do that by helping with the on-page text and other techniques that I'll continue to show. So a great tool for this, yeah, so crawlers can't see those. Here is a tool that I often use. It's called SEObrowser.com. It's a tool that Moz recommends. What you can do is put in a URL into that, and it'll pull up so you can see exactly the way a crawler is seeing it, or a search engine is going to see it, and then how it'll show up in your index. Okay, this is important as well. We talked about how crawlers search links to find stuff to put in the index. First off, this red page here, I guess my pointer's not working very well. Oh, there we go. This red page is your home page. Let's say on Joe's running shoes website, he has two category pages. He has running shoes, and then he has cross-country shoes. He also has a section here called CrossFit shoes, and then a section that's about sales or deals. He has no link to those, so Google's not going to be able to find it. So when somebody goes in and searches for Joe's CrossFit shoes, it's not going to be inside the Google index. So you want to make sure that your link structure on your website has a good navigation that's user-friendly, and it's also thorough and complete, so that way crawlers and Google can find pages throughout your website. Okay. So ways you can improve. If you want to use animations or flash on your website, that's very hard for SEO. So what you're going to have to do is supplement it with lots of on-page text covering those keywords that you want to target. If you want to put up a video on your website or on a blog page or like your home page, on any page, it's a great idea to provide a transcript right below that video, because crawlers and Google cannot figure out what words you're saying. They're trying to in YouTube, but they're not quite there yet, and it hasn't been perfected. So the best way that you can make sure that you get credit is to be able to provide a transcript. Use alt text for your images. In HTML, there's a way, I'm sure, I guess most of you have gone over this, is to be able to provide an alt text. That is a way that you can put a keyword in there, so the keyword that you want to target, so that way, like when your site is crawled, Google sees that keyword and knows what the image is about. And like I said before, always provide a complete link structure. Having a good navigation, a user-friendly link structure that isn't confusing, it isn't spammy, but is thorough and complete. If you use a search bar on your website to search your content, make sure that it's in addition to a good and complete navigation and link structure. If you have only a search bar, it will be very hard for your site to be crawled. Okay, so we've talked about keyword usage. Let's dive more into that and how you can use it effectively throughout your site. Okay. On-page keywords. Refer to that plan you made, so when you did your keyword research. have a target one, so a top target keyword, and then a couple backup and secondary keywords after that. And as you go through your SEO process, you'll be able to optimize specific pages for specific keywords. But starting off, it's always good to have a target keyword. Now you want to use your keywords throughout your meta tags. Now that's the page title, page description, and then there's some other markups that I'll go over in a second. So your keywords should be used throughout your page content, and use a keyword in the URL if possible. Google is trying to avoid sites, so if we go back to the Joe's Running Shoes, if Joe's domain name was runningshoesforsale.com, I doubt that one's available, but if he had it right now, there'd be a good chance for him to be able to start getting organic traffic from that domain name because it has the keyword in that domain. Google wants to start avoiding that, but there's still credit to that strategy. They want people to be able to make a site on whatever domain name, as long as it's good and user-friendly, be able to get organic traffic. And then avoid keyword stuffing, and I'll go over that in a second. So here's a page a lot of you probably have seen before. I've seen Brother Robertson send it out in his course curriculum. This is the perfectly optimized page that Moz puts out, and it's a great thing to always reference. If we look at the top, we'll see that they listed all the meta tags that they use. You'll see in the page title, right now they're trying to go for the keyword chocolate donuts. So the page title is Chocolate Donuts from Mary's Bakery. In the meta description, it's a very compelling and it's a very good text that brings people in. Because what happens is that meta description is what people see in Google as well as that page title. I'll go over that more in a second, but you want to make sure that text, that meta description, is compelling and it has the keyword. And then right there's her URL. So it's marysbakery.com/chocolate donuts. Okay, as we go throughout the page, it says here, it's bot accessible. There is a file on a website, I'm not sure if you guys have learned about this yet, it's called the robots.txt file. And oftentimes people use that to prevent certain pages on their site from being indexed. And you don't want that, sometimes you do want that. A lot of people put the URLs for their admin panel, their back office, all their user files that they use, but they don't necessarily want people to be able to see it. Now, important thing right here on Mary's Donuts page is that it's unique. It's 100% unique. So what that means is there's no other site that's using the exact same content, the exact same words, because you can get penalized for that if you just copy and paste from somewhere else. I mean, aside from legal problems, you can get penalized on Google. The content's unique right here. It's built to be shared. There's social buttons right there. Social media can help bring page authority to the site that you're trying to optimize. Aside from traffic from social media and that whole way of getting inbound marketing. So if we also look, we can see that up at the top, she's got chocolate donuts right there. On your on-page content in the body, having the keyword close to the beginning is very good. She's not keyword stuffing, she's using it naturally, and it's towards the beginning of the body. So that's a great way. And then going through, it's got a great user experience. Right here, she's sharing a recipe for chocolate donuts, which is what she's trying to get to rank. And she's got some great images that use alt tags. So inside the HTML code, you and I can't see right here, but inside the HTML code, she would put chocolate donuts for the alt tags for those images. Up here, it could be chocolate donut recipe, and then down here, it could be chocolate donuts plus whatever topping she has on it. I can't really see. Then another important thing is to make sure that your page is multi-device ready. It can be viewed on mobile. Somebody can pull up their iPhone, do a search, pull it up, and have a good user experience. Somebody can pull it up on a tablet and be able to have a good user experience. Okay, so keyword stuffing. Let's talk about that for a second. So keyword stuffing is a crime a lot of people have done. Here's a little comic that I found that kind of gives an idea of to not keyword stuff, but to think like like a search engine while also having a good user experience. So right here, we have Simon's friend, and she's saying, "Are you okay, Simon?" Now, Simon's had a long day where he's spent a lot of time writing SEO text. And he says, "Yeah, I'm fine. Everything is fine." So what do you ask? Are you fine? I know I'm fine. And if I wasn't fine, believe me, I would let you know that I wasn't fine. So it sounds like he's trying to target "I'm fine" or the word "fine" in SEO. And then she goes on to say, "So you keep repeating yourself. Have you been writing web copy? What did we say about keyword stuffing?" So you want to make sure that your text reads well, and it has keywords in a natural way, but that it reads well, or else you'll actually get penalized. And I'll talk about that later on with a Google update that happened back in 2012. But you want to make sure that it reads well and that user experience is good. Okay, so we've talked about some meta tags. Let's go more into that. Page titles. What a page title is in the Google listing. So let's skip ahead a second. Okay, here I did a search for sports news. In case you didn't I guess know already, that blue text right there is the page title that you put on the page in the HTML. You want to make sure here has that keyword. So if you see, here's Fox, here's ESPN, and here's ESPN again. Now ESPN, of course, would do a good job with SEO because they're all about sports and they have lots of unique content. Every single one, you see sports news in the page title. Now this section right down here, I'm sorry, that pointer's not working very good, but the gray text right below, that's the meta description. The meta description, it's not as important in terms of evaluating that keyword, but what it does is if you have a good meta description, it draws people in. And you see sports news is actually highlighted in each meta description because that's what the user searched. So if you have a good meta description, you'll get a higher click-through rate. And if you get a higher click-through rate, Google can actually see that and will pay you dividends and will help your rankings. So let's go back here a second. So we talked about meta descriptions. Schema tags is something I love to go, I guess deep into, but as far as now, all I can say is it's some more HTML, markups you can do that are specific to your content. If you had a recipe on a blog that you were building and you wanted that blog page to do really well, you'd use the schema markup for recipes. So in Google, it actually show up and show like a little 5-star rating where people can give reviews. Another one is location. If you had a bike shop or some local, business, you do the local markup for schema, and that is a way that's easily for the crawlers to index your site to look for the name, the address, and the phone number. So those are things that you want to take note of and look up later on. Now, meta keywords. That's a meta tag that I did not mention. You will see that in sites sometimes, but it's not used anymore by Google, so you can completely ignore it. This was the area where people would keyword stuff the absolute most. And you would look at websites, look at their meta keywords tag, and you would see that it's just packed with keywords, and it really doesn't contribute much value. So if you were to go on a search and look for some guide or tutorial on how to optimize meta keywords, you'll be able to find one because it doesn't exist. Google doesn't use meta keywords anymore. Okay, so back to our anatomy of a search listing. So we got the URLs up there. You see it helps right here. You got ESPN is going for latest news as well as their homepage. So the keyword is inside that URL. You also see the page title and descriptions. Now, that top result, you can see subpages. And that's something that oftentimes Google will do to that top ranked site. So now, not only are they generating traffic to their website that they have up there, but also to subpages off their site. And so that's one, reward that you can do that can happen as you optimize. Okay, so page titles. Inside the head, inside the title tags. It's the title for your listing inside the search engine result page. You want it to be 50 to 60 characters long. A year ago or 2 years ago, people would say 70 characters or less, but now it's 50 to 60 because Google and everything is trending to be more and more mobile friendly. And if you have your phone up and you do a search, if you've got a big 70 to 90 character long page title, it's going to be hard to see it, and they're actually going to cut it off now. Here's a good format for optimizing your page titles. You have your primary keyword first, followed by your secondary keyword, and then like your brand name. So for Joe's shoes, that example that we're doing, it could be running shoes. Secondary keyword could be, let's see here, quality running shoes, brand name. You want to make sure that it's user-friendly, but this is a good format that Moz provides. And for more info on that, you can go to moz.com/learn/SEO title tags. I'd always point towards Moz for the top source of SEO. Okay, so meta descriptions. It's not as important for rankings, like I said, but it's important for click-through rates, which can affect rankings. Google wants to reward sites that keep people using Google. If somebody searches for something and can't find what they're looking for, then they're going to try Bing or just try going on social media. If your site is providing people what they're looking for, and you're able to tell them that through your meta description, you're going to have a high click-through rate, which can then directly influence your rankings. Write compelling text to encourage clicks. And overall, that's a great skill to have in the internet marketing industry. Make sure this is no longer than 155 characters long, for the same reason that we want a good short page title. Right there, you can see that's the meta description. That section is highlighted. Okay, internal and external links. So internal links, they can improve the usability when done right. If you have a blog page that is on a store, so back to Joe's running shoes, if he has a blog article that he wrote that was about the different types of cross-country running shoes, it would be a great idea for him to link to different product listings in that blog article. So if he wrote down his, I don't know, it could be some fancy name he came up with, like the Tech 5 running shoe. That Tech 5 running shoe text would be an anchor text and be a link to that product listing. That's helping usability, and it's also boosting his SEO. And that's because now it's easy for the crawlers to index that link and follow that page and put some authority behind that. So optimize the anchor text, which is just what I said with being able to highlight that text and make it a link. And the keyword is the link. This will help your on-page stats. Some on-page stats to go over. Bounce rate. What that means is a bounce rate, you want your site to have a low bounce rate. If you have a 90% bounce rate, that means 90% of people that went to your web page saw the page and then left. They didn't do anything else. If you have good internal links, you can help bring down that bounce rate, and it'll increase your average time on site. These are all stats that can be shown inside Google Analytics. I'll talk about that in a little bit when I go over some tools. Also, pages per visit. Like, you want users to spend time on your website. You want them to, bounce from blog article to blog article to the home page to your product pages to whatever purpose you have. So that's internal links. Now let's go over some external linking, which is a process that we call link building in the industry. It's a huge part of SEO. There are people inside the industry that only do link building, and that's their specialty, and they're really good at it. So when people are linking to your site, they can use that same process of using the keyword as the anchor text. If Joe had a partner that was had like a website talking about, cross-country running, and if they reference Joe's shoes website and they put down inside the text, it said a great source for good, and then running shoes as anchor text, and then pointing to his site, then that's an optimized anchor text that's going to help bring some SEO value in that link. So look for relevant links. So like I just said with Joe and his buddy that has that cross-country website, you want the sites to be industry relevant. If not, then there's not going to be a lot of value brought over. And you can partner with other sites to help usability, like I said. Okay, black hat tactics. 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, in 2012, there was a big Google update called, this one was Penguin. Now, I'll go over that in the next slide as well. What happened is people would used to buy links. They'd go online, go to Fiverr.com, go to all different sources, and they would say, hey, if I give you $30, will you link to my website? That's called a black hat tactic. And it was happening a lot, and it was hurting the overall quality of Google because sites that use spammy tactics were getting higher and higher and somehow being rewarded. So you're buying links. Another one is link networks. The idea of if you have a big network of people, say 30 people that all have websites, it doesn't matter if they're relevant, like it doesn't matter if they're all together, and every single website of that 30 has a link to every other website in that 30, if that makes sense, that's a link network. And that can potentially hurt you if done spamming the wrong way. Another one that can be spammy is link exchanges. If you tell someone, hey, I'll link to you if you link to me. If it's done wrong, it can hurt you. Even if it's done in like your everyday setting, it won't bring a lot of value anymore. So those two big Google updates that I mentioned. So first is a picture that kind of represents penguin. So we got the evil penguin here. The penguin update, it stopped unnatural linking structures. So like I mentioned, buying links, link networks. It stops spammy anchor text. So in websites that down in the footer, they would have like 100 links with all kinds of anchor text. So if Joe wanted to get into some black hat practices and he had all these links down in his footer that said Joe's running shoes, and then running shoes Joe, or just running shoes, and then premium running shoes, all of them just down in the footer, that would be bad and that would hurt him because of Penguin. Now, so before that, in 2011, there was an update called Panda. What this did is it hurt duplicate content. If your website has several pages that have the exact same text on it or the exact page title, that can hurt you. You want to make sure that it's all unique. In addition, for sites that had low quality content, so sites that had keyword stuffing, it hurt them a lot too, as well as generated content. So here are some tools that can help you in your SEO efforts and also help you to find those problems. The first one that I'd really focus on is Google Webmaster Tools. You want to get your site a Google Webmaster Tools account as soon as possible. And the reason why is because it has an ability to submit what's called a sitemap. So we've talked about how Google likes to crawl your website. They like to have links so they can find every single page. If you want to make sure that happens, you can create what's called a sitemap using Google Webmaster Tools, which is a complete list of every web page on your site. So it's like taking Google on a guided tour of your website so they can see every single page that you want them to see. So that's a great way to do that, and that's been done in Webmaster Tools. It also helps you to see where you're currently ranking on certain search queries, and Google Webmaster Tools can also help you to find those errors that on your website. It could be a problem with HTML code, could be 404 errors. There's a bunch of different types of errors that it searches for. Then, of course, Moz. We at Barton Consulting subscribe to their services, and it's great because there's a tool that it lets you enter a long list of keywords, and every week it'll scan every single keyword and tell you where you're currently ranking. In addition to that, they have tools like the on-page grader, where you can put in a URL, and it'll scan that entire page and give you a grade for what you rank, and then it'll tell you ways that you can improve like your ranking by saying, hey, so you need to put some alt tags here, you need to optimize your page title, you need to make sure that your URL is good, all kinds of stuff. Okay, ifthisthenThat.com. This is a great service for connecting your blog to social media, to being able to create custom recipes. So for example, you can connect your RSS feed up to it. Every time you have a new entry in your RSS feed, which is like a new page or blog article, it'll put an automatic post on Facebook, an automatic tweet on Twitter, all kinds of stuff you can customize. I've mentioned the Google Keyword Planner, which is a great tool for finding keyword ideas, as well as seeing the search volume behind specific keywords, as well as Google Trends, which is a good idea to look for like what's trending, apply it to your industry, apply it to your topic, your purpose, and find opportunities to optimize new pages on new ideas. And then, of course, Google Analytics, which is probably like the most used tool that you'll use to be able to get an idea of all the traffic you have coming in through what sources. You can use it and take Google's class online to become Google Analytics certified, and that's a great way to get a head up on other, web developers and SEOs that are applying for jobs. You want to make sure that you understand it. You understand that, how to install it. As a web developer, that's very important. If you know how to install Google Analytics on a website from day one, that will save a lot of time, and it'll help your internet marketing team a lot. And so that's a great tool. I could talk about Google Analytics for a long time, but just focus as web developers as being able to install it and understand the basics. Okay, responsive web design. Being mobile friendly. An unresponsive site is bad for user experience. That alone should be enough for you to invest effort and money and time into making a site mobile friendly. Google just pushed out an update about 2 or 3 weeks ago, rewarding mobile sites even more. That's why you want to make sure that your page titles are 50 to 60 characters long, that your site scales well, that your site doesn't have images that, when viewed on an iPhone, just mess up the entire layout. If you can do that, then not only is your user experience and your sales and leads and money overall going to go up, but your rankings are going to improve as well. A lot of people in the early days of responsive web design would build a website on mobile.example.com, where that's not great for SEO because all the value from links are now on 2 different domains instead of just one, which could be joesrunningshoes.com. So you want to make sure that you have that one page is responsive. And then having a good responsive design combats bounce rates, because people pulling up your site on phones and tablets won't be able to view it very well. Okay, I've gone over a lot, so now is the time for questions. Hopefully you've written down some questions, so go ahead and shoot. I got this slide just for that. Sometimes when we talk about SEO, we can get a bit technical, but let's go ahead. So if you have any, scenarios, thoughts, ideas, go for it. Yeah.
So, how you said the black hat?
Yes.
I don't know, I follow a lot of blogs and do a lot of things like that. Are they not?
There are natural ways to do it, and then there are spammy ways to do it. A common tactic that Google doesn't like anymore, but is still used, it's guest blogging. So if you had a blog, a brand new blog, that you're trying to promote and get attention, it would make sense for you to get in touch with another blogger and say, hey, I will write you a great article about subject A, and you will just shoot me a link back. That can be done the right way. But Google is very intuitive and very smart. They're crawling your website daily, and they know all your links, and they know, where they're coming from and being pointed to. So if all your links are from guest blogs, it can, see a pattern and will flag you for that. So just make sure that you have a very diverse linking strategy, and don't focus on one tactic, and don't do it in a spammy way. If you focus on the user experience, for example, if you had a friend that had a blog that you could write something that's very similar to offer a lot of value to those people, then go for it, and it'll work. But what Google wants to avoid is those patterns, and also the idea that you are offering something to somebody for a link back. They want it to be natural. So you offer them to write a blog article or a piece of content that you wrote that would be good for them, and they would naturally link to it, not because it's like a payment, So, good question though. Was it you? Yeah.
Yeah, and this is probably just beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
But this is a technology that you pointed out that changes probably more rapidly than any other.
Yes.
So, do you have anything else to say about where you go specifically to stay very up to date with these algorithms and what Google is expecting from you?
Yeah, great question. And that's being able to have a good list of resources. I've mentioned Moz.com. They have great blogs, and they also have a beginner's guide to SEO that I'd recommend to everybody. And they're always updating it. They spend a lot of money with their content team to make sure that it's up to date and not doing anything that would hurt you. As well to that, there's a site called Search Engine Land. They have a lot of great blogs and things and case studies that show ways that certain SEO tactics help or don't help, or where the trends are going. A guy that you might want to know is named Matt Cutts. He is Google's head of, basically search engine algorithm making. So he's always talking about good and bad things. And he has his own blog where he talks about, for example, guest blogging. That was being abused about 2 years ago by like tons of websites. And he said, well, what happens is, people find a good thing and they abuse it and now it's bad. So we're going to be cracking down on unnatural linking through guest blogging. So Matt Cutts is a great source. Moz is my favorite source. And then Search Engine Land is another good one. So just always work to stay on top of the cutting edge there. Good question. Anything else? Maybe any thoughts or, scenarios that you might find yourself in or have found yourself in? Again, thank you. No, it's great. I love questions.
I own two SEO businesses, and they have their own internal optimization into their website.
Yeah.
How would you recommend other ways to get people to
Yeah. So Etsy's a tricky one because I believe isn't like your store a subdomain off that Etsy domain, so it can be tricky and harder to optimize. If you can have your own domain name, that brings a lot of value to it, whereas subdomain, not as much. I know a lot of Etsy people have found success just through branding and social media. A lot of them do a lot of great things on Pinterest. That's very good. And in terms of search, it's harder to do it off a subdomain, and that's true, for example, Weebly. If you have like your own Weebly site that's still a subdomain off of the Weebly domain name, that's not as much value as having your own domain name. And another factor to like a domain name is if it's been existing for a certain amount of time, that can carry weight behind it. But I wish I could give you more specific answers on what you can do with Etsy. I would look towards other sites that have people in the same situation and what they've done. But from what I've seen, they've found like the most success through branding and through social media instead of search.
social media is like playing a big role?
Yes, I scratched that a little bit. And it's always been a very mysterious thing in the SEO world when asking what value social media brings, because it does bring a lot of value, but Google's always saying, well, we don't take into account likes or Google plus ones or tweets, but there is value to it, even if it's just links and bringing people to your website, which Google can then see the time they spend on the pages they go and the bounce rates. That alone can do good. But yeah, social media there's a lot of value to it in general. So also, so just remember, a social or a Facebook update on a page, Google indexes the first 3 lines of those. So they include that inside its index, and so links and value is there. So anyway, good question though. The Robinson.
Skyler, there's no, I don't think there's much argument that Google is the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah.
But obviously there are many other search engines.
Yes.
How do their algorithms differ, and how can someone who is trying to optimize their site account for those differences?
Good question. They try, everybody's trying to make their algorithm the best. And in Moz, there's a way to track every ranking across every search engine. So Bing has something it's kind of their own like webmaster tools that Google has. It's if you just search for Bing Web Tools, you'll be able to find it, and they're able to do something similar to be able to submit a sitemap and be able to do all those things to let like your site be open up to its crawlers. Bing, it's a good thing to target because who's mainly searching Bing? Does anybody know? Old people, thank you. Old people. And why is that? It's because Internet Explorer uses Bing by default. Internet Explorer is the out-of-box browser on every single PC. So that's, a great thing to always account for, like depending on your strategy. So it does have value. As far as the specific algorithm differences, I couldn't, break it down for you, point by point, but they're all working to be to provide you with like the best things possible. Google does a lot because of YouTube. Like YouTube is the like number 2 used search engine, where Google in general search is number 1. So It's tricky that way.
And does Moz have resources
Yes.
to help you account for those differences?
They do. Yes, they do. And in general, good SEO practices that optimize it for Google will do well in Yahoo and Bing. So that's a good one to account for and remember. Good question, though. Any other ideas, questions, thoughts? Thank you.
Got another one.
Yeah.
So, as you've experienced, the CIT program kind of force feeds us options
Yeah.
for a dozen different career paths.
Okay. Yeah.
With what you do, what would you recommend focusing on that would help that career path?
Great question. Great question. And there's a lot of things I can talk about with that. I'm not sure if it's still here. Back then it was called Business 250. So that's internet business. That's where I was one of 2 CIT majors in a room filled with about 50 business majors. And the whole structure of the class was to build a website, make sales online, make money online. And you learn about SEO, you learn about pay-per-click advertising. Being a CIT major, I felt like I had actually a big advantage because I could build a site and I had that understanding of of getting on the web already that had me a head start. So I was excited. While all the business majors were trying to figure out how to optimize their Weebly site, I had already built or bought a domain name, and I had, WordPress up on it. And that was great. One thing to look into for a good SEO tool for WordPress, it's the all-in-one SEO plugin, if you ever use WordPress. And it lets you do all those things really easy that we've talked about. Optimizing page titles, put in meta descriptions, being able to account for the search engine crawling and indexing. That's a great one. So, yeah. A lot of the stuff that I've done has been self-taught. The only class that I took was Business 250. But being an IT major, going into the internet marketing world, it's been it's been easy for me because I know how to do all that stuff like installing Google Analytics, how to build a website, how to get into the HTML of a blog page and fix like the layouts and making sure everything looks good and all the tags are right. So, good question. Anything else? Cool. Well, oh yeah, thank you.
You talked a lot about like people penalizing you.
Yes.
What do you mean by that? Do they like?
What will happen? Yeah, good question. So what will happen? So let's say that we have a site owner that has a Webmaster Tools account that is wanting to get success online like everybody else. They start buying some links to try to get ahead. And there's value in links, like we've talked about. What will happen is Google, in indexing and crawling the sites, will see, okay, so this day and this month they had 5 new links. The next month, 5 new links. The third month, 3,000 new links. And it's easy for them to see that there's abuse going on there. What they'll do is they'll send you an error message inside Webmaster Tools and say something like, your site has been found to be using unnatural linking tactics. And they actually provide a tool because back in 2010 and before, people were still doing that. The update came out, problems happened, and they wanted to fix it. So Google will provide a tool, it's called the disavow tool, where you can disavow any link that's pointing to your site. It'll still be there, but it tells Google that, hey, I've tried to stop this link, I don't want it there anymore, don't give any credit, any attention to it. So the main things that you'll see is a drop in rankings if you're penalized, and then if you're in Webmaster Tools, you'll see an error that'll come up, and they'll say, hey, you've been doing something wrong.
Is it like a certain time frame, or is it just kind of like putting this up and then?
It's not it all depends on how often they're indexing your site and what you're doing. When the updates first came out, the first weeks of it, there was thousands of panicking webmasters trying to figure out what was going on. I was at Barton at that time, and we actually got several calls from people panicking because they had always ranked number 1, and now all of a sudden they're out of the top 50, and they're panicking and they're trying to figure out why. So the time frame, I can't give you a specific one. It just depends on how often Google is crawling your website, but yeah.